We are three curious women on a lifetime mission of self-evolution. Each of us a mom, entrepreneur, truth seeker, and love teacher. We come together once a week to offer you ideas to human better. Welcome to the flow life of Shelley, Eva, and Tann, where we define love as living open and valuing everything. On this podcast, you are dialed in and set to love. Let's go for a ride. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Set to Love podcast. We are so excited to have you here with us today. I am Eva Payne, and on today's episode, we are going to be talking about letting go. Really three things around this idea. One is why letting go is so important, and ultimately, it leads to more joy. Two, forgiveness. We're going to talk a little bit about forgiveness and how forgiveness is really about healing for you. Shelley's going to talk a lot about that. And then finally, we're going to be talking about holding on too tight and the dangers of that. Like what happens if you're holding on too tightly to things and how sometimes you just get dragged. So hold on, strap in, and you are set to love. Here we go.
Today, we are talking about letting go. And I think for a lot of people, I think for a lot of people, letting go is difficult. I think it feels like loss a lot of times if you're letting go of something that no longer serves you, because sometimes the thing we need to let go of is the thing we want to keep, or the person we want to keep, or the job we want to keep, or the whatever we want to keep. For me, okay, let's talk about this. The eating habits you want to keep, Sometimes you have to let go of things you still want to keep in your life, but it no longer serves you. And so for me, what I do with my clients is I do a little test to encourage them to let go. I tell them to clench, and if you guys are listening, clench your fist, right, to the point where your nails dig into your hand a bit, and hold that for about, 10 seconds or so. And then open your hand and look at your hand, and you can see that there are nail marks in your hand, right? Sometimes we hold on to things so tightly that it damages us, and it leaves a scar, and it leaves a bruise, and it leaves its mark. But when you let go, the healing can begin. And not only can the healing begin, but you open your hand to receive something new. So a lot of times, if you let go of stuff, you receive something even better. And sometimes the thing you're holding on to, whether it be a thought pattern or whatever it is, you're blocking the new thing from coming in. And so I wanted us to kind of talk about letting go today, because I know for me, that's been a theme that keeps coming up. So I want to know what you ladies thought about this idea of letting go. And is there anything like you feel like you need to let go of, or do you have any advice for like folks who are struggling letting go of things?
The first thing that comes to mind when you say letting go is huge, is forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you feel if you need to forgive someone that you're like excusing them for something that may have happened to you that was, not so great. And I know a lot of people have had a lot of bad things happen to them, whether it be a divorce or abuse or whatever that might be. But when I think of letting go of that hurt, and because that's only holding you back.
Yeah.
When you can't, like if you could just be in the presence. I only know from my own divorce, which was really, really difficult. What really set me free was to not only forgive myself for allowing certain things, and for also forgiving him for the things that happened to me. And as soon as that sounds easier said than done, but it really does work. You are literally free to go on and progress in your life and do better. And you see goodness again. It's like when you stay stuck in feeling sad about what was, that doesn't even serve you in any way. And I think sometimes even when someone has passed away, you're so sad in the loss of that parent or that grandparent or whoever that might be. And I'm not taking away that that's not horrible, because it really is. But how is it serving you? Like try to celebrate that. Everybody has to have a certain amount of time for grief. I believe that. But I also believe in trying to make changes for the positive and looking at it in just a different perspective.
Yeah.
Because then what happens is, you know, you can't progress forward. And so for me, forgiveness is the biggest thing.
Yeah, forgiveness is huge because I think, like we talked about letting go and receiving something else, forgiveness really is for you. It's not even
Yes,
for
absolutely.
the other person, right?
Yes.
It's like you get to, let go of all of the hatred and the anger and the bitterness and whatever you feel. You let go of that, and it's kind of like
It's freeing.
It's
It's
freeing.
I think
absolutely
you need to
freeing.
ask yourself why you can't let go. Like, it's not just let go, but why can't you let go? Like, what are you still trying to figure out, or why are you holding on to it? I mean, I think when you can't let something go, it says more about you than it does the situation, more about you than the other person, more about you than the food or the clothes or the life or the job. I mean, it's what are you so afraid of, or what are you, sometimes we hold on to things like we're drowning. You're literally like,
Yeah.
just you're dog paddling and your head's above water, and that's what you're holding on to, because at least you're still breathing.
Yeah.
It's struggle, but you're still breathing, because what happens if you let go? What happens if you just go, I'm not going to struggle like this anymore. I'm going to just pick something totally different. I am going to put myself in a whole new place. I'm going to shock my brain, literally changing the neurons in your brain to operate or think or move in a different way. Yeah. And it's really scary because you're so used to surviving in the holding on to whatever's dragging you. Like, how to drag those rocks. It doesn't matter if it's 100 pounds, you can drag it. And you can get up the next morning because you've done it for 10 years. So letting that go is like, why am I holding it? Why am I dragging it? What steps do I actually need to do to just let it go, so I'm not dragging it, so I can actually get out of this pool or lake or whatever you're drowning in, instead of it being tied to you and you're barely like just dog paddling, trying to keep your head above. So we're so used to surviving, and that being okay and that being the norm. We don't even know what it's like to thrive. We see people who are thriving and we think that's an anomaly, that's for someone else.
Yeah.
Oh, they're lucky, or they have some kind of privilege or access to something I don't have, when I don't think that's true. I think we all can thrive.
Yeah.
And the sooner we can let go of whatever the things are, or at least work towards that. Mm-hmm. And for each of us, I think it's different, because what are you holding on to might be so different. Like for me, it's literally mountains of clothes. Like I just have so many clothes that I was just talking to Emmy about, going, why am I keeping that one jacket or that one dress or whatever? Because I might wear it 10 years from now, but to have to carry that around and move and pack and have it take up space in my life. I mean, I'm literally carrying it around for maybe one night 10 years from now. Really?
Yeah.
Do I really need it for that?
And
when I can just walk into Shelley's closet and find 100 beautiful things that are so much better than the one thing that I am hanging that I think maybe in 10 years, I'll be so grateful I held on to it. I mean, come on.
And the thing is you're blocking, with that thing you're holding on to, you're blocking the space for something new and groovy and great. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I love earlier you said, why are we holding on to it? And I think it goes back to when we're talking earlier in our other podcast about the idea of our kids.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we're just tied to an idea. And it's like, if I let go, then this lets go of the idea that I had. And sometimes that's what you need to do. Sometimes we need to let go of an idea that we have.
Do you know I just heard this the other day, and they said one of the things that determines someone's success is adaptability. Number one factor of success is being adaptable.
Yeah.
Can you start on a path and then go, oh, wait, actually it needs to go in this direction. Mm-hmm. Wait, nope, wrong again, this direction. Actually, tweak it a little bit more, this direction. You have to be able to adapt to your environment.
Absolutely.
We have to be chameleons to what's going on in our lives and be able to go with the flow of what's coming in, because we can't predict the chaos. We can't predict so many of the outside things that are coming in. We can only predict how we respond to those things.
Absolutely.
And what we choose to hang on to. If we're holding on to so much stuff and then the chaos comes, how can you even manage? then you feel like you're underwater because you're barely surviving. And now guess what? Here comes your son who made that choice, or your partner who made that choice, or this job loss, or this death. And you're like, I was barely hanging on. You don't give yourself enough room for the chaos to come. You have to get rid of those things. So when the chaos comes, you're like, oh, I see you. I got you.
Yeah.
I carried those 100-pound rocks for 10 years. I finally let that go. I got whatever's coming my way.
Now you can deal with whatever's coming. And I think the quote says adapt or die, right? Isn't there like a thing? And I think we say that and it's like, no, really. Either you adapt or you die. And adaptability is, I think, really, really connected to letting go.
Huge.
Because if you're on this journey and you have all of these people around you that don't serve you, or all of these rocks you're carrying, then you literally, if you're out in the wild, the bear's going to get you. The tiger's going to eat you or whatever. But if you let go of the rocks and you run, you might make it. The chances are higher.
What you allow in.
Yeah.
It's like my daughter's on a new adventure right now, and she was telling me yesterday about, how so many people are just, this idea has such a stigma to it. And so they're so, oh, that cult got you. And, just such negative talk about something that she's really into.
Okay.
And once again, I said, those are all choices that you have to make, whether you allow that in or not. You need to just keep going forward, put your blinders on. If this is what's making you happy, stay around the positive people and throw out the rest, because, a lot of times when people are being negative, they really don't even know 100% what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. They're just,
true.
They're just kind of spewing whatever they feel like at the moment. And
well, it's interesting that you say that, because I just had a conversation. So my 15-year-old wants to go to Rolling Loud, this music festival, with a bunch of his friends. And there's going to be a dad. It's down by USC, so it's only like 45 minutes from us this year. It's not till December or something. And I'm thinking, I've never been to a music festival. Well, except one where my sister was playing at, but it wasn't like a big, huge Coachella type thing. It was kind of smaller. So of course, fear in my brain is like, oh my gosh, he can't go, this, and all these reasons, all these drugs, all these things are going to be there. I need to protect why am I going to put my son in the lion's den? Like, he may make good choices, but if I put him into that situation, then I'm allowing for things to happen, right? So like you said, letting things in. But the thing is, I said, okay, let me talk to this dad, like my son's best friend's dad. I said, if he's okay with it, he must have information I don't have. So instead of me just saying, no, you can't go, this is crazy, everyone's going to be, something bad's going to happen, like creating all this fear, right? I go, let me talk to this dad. So I had this conversation, and he was so smart about things and just said, look, they're going to make their own choices. So we can support them, and I will be there and I will walk them in, and what they do in there is up to them. And I've had this, look out for these people and be aware of this and don't make this choice. And, he's done all the parenting things that you would need to do. And then at that point, you just like let your kids make their own choices, and you're there for them. And if they fail, they fail. And if I still haven't made up my mind yet whether I'm going to let them go or not, but I appreciate the like I sought out more information so I can understand the picture a little bit better, so it wasn't as scary, but that I'm also just preparing my kid to go into what to me seems like the lion's den to manage the situation. And I said to Brian, to the dad, I said, if just one person in that group is sound, then we're good. You just need one person to make a good decision. You need one person to be like, hey, no, not a good choice. Let's go this way. You just need, you got to have one person in the group that has your back and that looks out for you.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you keep saying the lion's den, because you know how that story turns out. He's in the lion's den and he's completely unharmed, right? In the story, right? So I love that you're using that, because if you stay with that, you're going to put him in the lion's den and he's going to come out unscathed, and the world is a lion's den,
right?
Every time we send our kids to school, let's face it, these kids have drugs, guns, thank goodness I've never had that story. But God bless the parents who get a phone call and there's a shooter, an active shooter on the campus.
Right.
You know, I mean, so no matter where our kids are, it's the lion's den.
Yeah.
So we got to trust that wherever they are, they're going to make good decisions. They're going to be the kids that we raised, you know? And I don't know, that's not easy. So I'm going to say that. I'm not saying that like that's an easy thing to do, but it really is everywhere, right? You got to let go of that idea that one place is going to be worse than some other place.
Yes.
You know?
And I remember back in the day when my kids were in high school and they wanted to go to parties, you know, and everybody knows the parties are, you know, there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's whatever. And so I think too, Eva, is you can make limits, you know, or you can say, like for me, I told my girls, okay, well, you can go for an hour. I'm going to let you see what it's all about, you know, and then I'm getting a phone call in 30 minutes saying, they're just standing around. It's so boring, you know, and so other than just saying no, you know, you want to allow them to have this experience, yet how much damage can happen in an hour? I mean, I guess a lot could.
But you're giving them a chance to figure it out for themselves.
Right. And so I feel like even with your son, even if it meant, you know, check in with that dad every couple of hours or every hour, you know, make some rules in giving them this freedom to where if at least they check in, you're going to know they're okay. So you can feel better about the situation and that they're handling it properly. And if they're not, then
I think it just goes to letting go of control over your kids and their choices. You know, I mean,
Yes.
he's only 15, but I still think, okay, you have to make your own choices, you know, whether he cheers or not next year, whether he goes to this school or that school next year. It's like, I just keep putting the ball back in his court. We have a discussion and I go, this is your life. What do you want to do? So those decisions are easy for me. You know, what activity you're involved in or what you study in school, or I don't have any control. I have no attachments to those things for my kids. But when it comes to drugs, alcohol, friends, like, oh man, my fear is so, my crazy town train is so big with that. Like, that's the thing that I have to hold myself back and go like,
but you are the
they're
parent.
Good people. They're good people. They're going to make good choices. They're going to be okay.
Sometimes, though, I hate to say it, sometimes your environment does change your thinking and you get adaptable and you're desensitized. I mean, honestly, I have a friend and her son moved in with somebody that did drugs and he didn't do drugs. And now he's in rehab. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, it just, all I'm saying is you
Yeah.
really do have to watch people. That's why we are parents.
Yeah.
We do have to parent our children and keep reminding them, not just hoping that they're going to make the good choices. I believe that my kids, even at 31 and 27, I'm still the parent and I'm still going to guide them. It's not like a free for all. And I don't mean that's what you meant.
No,
I'm
I get
just
it.
saying, I do
there's
think that,
boundaries.
you know, some of our worries and some of our things that we're thinking about situations, and especially this event for your son, there's hundreds of people.
Oh yeah.
You know, it is a big, huge party, and there's a lot of drugs.
And that's what I told him. I said, for me, it's not so much you going there. I'm not worried about you.
Yes, it's
like, I'm not worried you're going to drink or go do something. And even if like he was to try something minor, like that's not even what it's about for me. It's everyone else. It's all the crazy around you. And when your brain is only 15 years old and you're not spatially aware of your surroundings and the people and the choices people are making around you, like that's what freaks me out. You know, what happens when someone around you does something? But that's when I think, how do you learn? I mean, these kids who live in these really crazy areas, you know, these parts of the US where it is survival mode. Like those kids are the fighters. Those kids, when the apocalypse comes, you know, if that ever happens, like those are the ones that are going to survive. They know how to make it through tough situations, you know, where it's the kids that we've coddled them and we've just kept them
Balance.
from every bad thing, that then life comes and they don't know how to manage through. I mean, it's such a balancing act for me. I try so hard to give my kids enough independence.
Yeah.
So that way when they do become 18, 19, 20, 21 and they're faced with these kind of crazy situations, they're able to make those decisions on their own. But also I don't want to be the parent who lays out every single choice they're ever going to make for them, because I'm trying to keep them safe and in this box and, don't get hurt by the world. And then they don't know how to be adaptable. They don't know how to survive. They don't have grit.
Yeah.
So it's such a crazy balance.
Don't you think that a way of judging whether they're ready is also their ability to be responsible for things? As you give your kids responsibilities and you say, okay, they handled that. Wow.
Yes.
So responsibility comes along. It's not just a free for all. Okay, you get to try this, you get to try that. No, you're going to show me responsibility. You have all your chores done. You have, or whatever it might be, your homework is done, or you had this huge, group project that should be your priority over this event. So if that's not done, you don't get to go. So I feel like the maturity level of your child, whether they're 15 or 18, it doesn't really make a difference. It's how responsible are they with their decision making in every day.
You're so
right. And that's how you can base it. If they're immature.
When Emmy was getting her contacts, I think she was in 4th grade. I said, well, how old does a kid need to be to wear contacts? And the ophthalmologist says, does she clean her room? Like, what does her room look like? Because if she can keep her room clean, then she can manage putting contacts in and out of her eyes. And it totally just went to your point of responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think again, those things, yes, but also our kids are individuals. And I think you have to kind of know, what your kid needs, and you will never know, but you try to tap into, okay, this kid needs a little extra incentive, or this kid needs a little extra push. And earlier you were talking, Eva, about, all these things that can happen. And I remember my cousin, and hopefully she'll hear this and know that I was thinking of her. My cousin told me a story talking about coddling kids. Her whole life, went to private school. She's an only child like me. Went to private school, lived a really nice life. And she told me less than a year ago, and I'm going to try not to cry when I say this, but she said that less than a year ago, she said, I realized something about my life. And I said, what do you realize? She said, my whole life I've been trying to get dirty. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, my mom kept me in such a bubble. She kept me from everything that could get me dirty, that could get the world on me. And so since I left home, I've been making all the wrong choices in men, in friendships, in jobs, in everything. I've pushed all the right people away and invited all the wrong people in because I've been trying to get dirty. And I'm tired again. I'm tired of being dirty, because what I thought being dirty would do, I thought dirty would make me feel better. And it doesn't. It makes me feel worse. And it keeps making me feel worse. And I've decided that dirt will never make me clean. And she's like, I had this aha moment at 38 years old. She's 38. And she just had this aha moment. So sometimes when we keep our kids too clean and we keep them in too much of a bubble, they're going to seek to get dirty. They're going to get out there as much as they can. The minute we let them go, they're going to try every dirty thing out there. So I think sometimes letting them go with a little bit, hey, I'm trusting you with this. I'm trusting you to make a good decision. Then they get a chance to see what the world looks like and they can still come home,
I think it's important that we make mistakes.
Yeah.
I grew up trying to be the good girl and compensate for what my siblings were doing, and as a grown up, you look back at that and you say, you kind of feel like a little bit of a fraud in some way, that you always lived your life trying to make it about someone else instead of just tripping over your own rocks. I don't know how else to explain that, but.
So I wonder if we think about this letting go, there's like a letting go of the past, right? So that's kind of like one aspect, like letting that go. But then there's also this letting go of fear of the future. So in this topics around the parenting and stuff we're talking about, like we need to let go of I need to let go of my fears of what might be. And then there's also the letting go of yesterday and everything, well, really 1 second ago, and everything that was, that's already happened that you can't change.
Yeah.
Reality is only right now.
Yeah.
The past is not real, really, and either is the future. You can only, right now we're in the present. This is real. We don't know what's going to happen 10 minutes from now. So until that 10 minutes gets here, so you got to just worry about what's in front of you and do the best that you can.
Well, and think about this, Shelley. This is like what I told you the other day when we were having that conversation. I said, if you're not willing to bring up how you feel with your daughter now, you don't get to bring it up in 10 years.
Absolutely.
Like you are aware right now that of how you feel. So if you're not willing to have this conversation with her now, you don't get to carry that around with you and 10 years from now be like, well, you know what? 10 years ago on blah, blah, blah day, because we do that. We're not willing to say how we feel right now and being in the present moment and addressing the things.
Or we hold a grudge.
Or we hold a grudge. So I think part of that letting go of the past thing is if you are holding on to something from a year ago, 10 years ago, you have got to either talk it out with that person, let it go yourself. You've got to figure out a way to let it go, or you cannot make progress in your life. Your life cannot be magical and beautiful. It's hard to plant seeds when you don't have
well,
the
and
materials.
you know what? This is the thing. Whether it's a grudge or whatever it is, who is it serving? It's only weighing you down with
that
those
goes back to
bags,
the
you know?
forgiveness.
The person that you're holding the grudge against doesn't feel anything. They're onward and upward with their life doing great things. And you're just holding yourself back by having this grudge or, pity party for yourself if that's what way it is.
Well, and the same moving forward, like to have a conversation with my son or with whoever and to be able to say, hey, this is my expectation. This is my hope. This is what I would like to see happen. These are my fears. I told my son, these are my two concerns, or these two things. If you can help me with these two things, I will lean towards saying yes. So I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not going to just say no. I said that to myself growing up. My mom would always just say, because I'm the mom, because I said so. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is the worst answer.
Do as I say, not as I do.
I will never
I hated
say
that one.
to my kids. I will always give them a reason. There's a reason I'm saying no. And maybe that's because of whatever happened to me when I was 16 or whatever. But if I'm not willing to have that conversation and be honest about my why with them, then I don't get that. They're not going to understand my reasoning, and they're not going to value it as much as me, and it's not going to hold weight with them. Then it's just me just saying I love you, or be careful to say be careful, or I don't want you to go, but why? Well, I'm not really willing to talk about why, because something happened to me and I don't want that to happen to you. Well, what happened to you? If you're not willing to really lay it out on the table and put it out there, and then you can let it go, because then it's like, hey, I said my piece. I told you what I wanted. I told you what I needed or what my hope was. And now I don't have anything else to hold on to. Like whatever happens.
Yeah.
And then you make a choice from that new space.
It's so freeing when you really can like say what you mean.
Yes.
And let it go. And that's also even with forgiveness. If you really forgave someone, I mean, I just, even to go back to my situation with the girls and having my feelings hurt, once you have that conversation, even with my oldest daughter, I feel like once that conversation was done, we were both free. It's like, wow, we don't really have to feel that way. We can move past this and feel good and feel close.
Yeah, and I think presently, you talked about past versus future. I think presently I'll speak for me. I think presently I'm going to focus on really letting go of this fear of conflict, because I think that's a lot of
you gotta let that
our
go.
challenge, because we start to think that any kind of pushback or any kind of offering of our opinion looks like conflict, and it's not. I feel like, I'm going to speak generally for a second, I feel like in the world we are just really afraid of not agreeing with everybody, or we're really afraid of not having everybody agree with us. And there is, for me, sometimes I get on my own nerves, and it's like I'll get irritated, or I'll get offended or upset by something because somebody doesn't necessarily agree with the way I'm saying it. And, this is mainly my kids, I'll be honest. But honestly, I'm just at that point where I'm like, I want to let go of that. I really am actively working to let go of this fear of, quote unquote opposition, or this fear of conflict, because everyone is allowed to have an opinion. Everyone's allowed, and as long as nothing's on fire and nobody's in danger, then everybody can have their own opinion. But I think we're so afraid to disagree and so afraid to agree to disagree that we're living these lies, these things that aren't even lives that we want. And it's like, I want to let go of that. I really want to let go of that, and I'm actively seeking to let go of that. So
Don't you think though, this kind of happened too in talking with my oldest daughter? She said, "Mom," I had said to her, "You know what? I miss you. We haven't talked as much as we have been lately." And she says, "Well, you gave your opinion, and I'm just so afraid since I didn't do what you said that you're just going to be annoyed." And I felt so bad for a second because I needed to be clear with her. Look, I'm giving you my opinion. Take what you want. Leave what
Yeah.
you want.
yeah,
Mommy doesn't want you to just do what I say. I want you to have your own life experiences, take your own opinion and run with it. So just do me a favor. Please know there's no judgment. And I really wholeheartedly mean this.
yeah,
There is no judgment on my side. I give my opinion. I do my very best, but that doesn't mean you have to do everything.
Right.
I still want to support your decisions, whether it be even, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm still your mom and I'm always going to be here.
yeah. And sometimes love looks like I support you, I love you. I ain't feeling that decision.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm allowed to say I'm not in support of your decision. I don't agree with that choice.
Exactly.
But I still love you and I'm still here for you.
And don't close
that's
me
okay.
out.
Yeah, and don't close me out. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's huge when you go into a conversation like really with any of my quote unquote quarrels with my partner now. Like I was so afraid of conflict in my first marriage. We were married for a very, very, very long time. I mean, together, I've known him since 6th grade, and together we were married for 17 years, right? And I think we fought maybe half a dozen times. No joke.
Whoa.
Maybe, because that's how afraid of conflict I was. And it just led to this enormous explosion that there was no coming back from because we did not know how to break and mend, break and mend, break and mend. And I do it so differently now. Now, when that thing comes up and I need to say that thing, I don't say it when I'm in crazy place. I wait, like give yourself 24 hours. And then I sit down and I go, okay, are you open to hearing what I'm going to say? It's not going to come out perfect. I'm just going to talk from my heart. I need you to not be on your phone. I need you to look at me in my eyes, and I'm just going to tell you how I feel until I'm done talking. And I'm going to try to keep it to 5 minutes. Like I'm not going to ramble for 30 minutes. I'm going to try to get to my point quick, but I really need you to hear me.
Yeah.
I really need you to hear me.
Yeah.
Because then you're coming at it with a very like an open heart. You really want this relationship to work. You want to be heard. And then I say, and you can do whatever you want with this information. Take it, leave it, think I'm crazy. I don't care. I just have to get it off.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you something. Set to love is what we're talking about here.
Yes.
People say the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. And I'm sorry, but I'm starting to feel as I get older that without some kind of conflict, it feels like indifference. If you're in a loving, intimate partner relationship and there's never conflict, or there's all this kind of like, okay, well, whatever you want. It just feels like indifference. And I can tell you, being married for almost 25 years, that's the thing that makes my husband really upset. If I just say, I don't care. Okay, whatever. He'll say, oh, whatever, but we can't talk about this. But even if it's a disagreement, it's like, I'm all in. I hear you. I'm tuned in. I'm dialed in. I'm set to love at that moment because I at least care what you're saying, even though I disagree at the moment. We're going to have a dialogue about it. And then we mend, we break. We mend, we break. And we've been doing that over and over and over again.
I like that a lot.
I
break and mend.
Break and mend. Yeah.
I think that makes you so much stronger. Like I literally feel closer today in my relationships, all my relationships, than I even, my relationships from 5 years ago or just from even last week, really being able to just be honest about where I'm at and how I feel when it comes up. I don't let resentment build. Resentment is this ugly wall that you can let get too high and then there is no way of getting over it anymore. It takes a force to break down. Not that it's impossible, but it's so much more work when it's been built.
I agree.
And you just don't even need to let it get there.
Resentment is a big ugly thing.
Yes.
It is. And the thing is when you build walls, you know, you're not just keeping people out, you're keeping yourself in. And that's what I say all the time, over and over again. You can build all the walls you want, but you're going to be isolated. You're going to be stuck behind that wall. And resentment, that wall, it ends in confusion, really, because you're like, what was I even upset about? What was I even mad about? I don't even know. And so it's like, if you just address that thing in the moment, or you can give yourself a cooling off period. You know, in 24 hours, we're going to talk about this. In 2 days, we're going to talk about it. But if you wait and let it build, it's like a cancer. It's like it just grows out of control.
And it's usually never about the thing at hand, right? It isn't like, oh, you didn't show up for this thing, or, oh, you said this and that hurt my feelings. It's almost always something so much deeper.
Oh, yeah.
For it to really resonate with you, to be worthy of an argument or a disagreement, it really goes back to something even deeper. And the sooner you can get to that stuff and work that stuff out, then you're so much better off.
And I say really listening. Sometimes, you know, somebody will be saying something to us and we're so wanting it to be just the right comment back that we're not really hearing what they're saying. So I think really, you know, wanting to not be defensive, you know, just really hearing someone.
Yeah, just letting go of feeling that need to be so defensive. I like that.
Right?
I like that a lot. Yeah.
I think this was a great discussion on
I do
letting go.
too.
Me
I do
too.
too.
Lots of different aspects.
So go
of-
forgive someone, I'd say,
Yeah.
and see how freeing it is. Let's test this out, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will definitely do it.
Beautiful.
Thank
Another
you,
wonderful
guys.
podcast, ladies. Love
Yay.
you.
Love you, girls.
Love you guys.
Said to love.